When you delete your Blue Wallet app and download any other Bitcoin wallet application, you can import a seed phrase simply by putting in these 12 or 24 words. When you put your seed phrase in a Bitcoin wallet app or device, you will immediately have control over any Bitcoin that is secured by the private keys linked to that seed phrase. These 12 or 24 words are a random, unique, and impossible to guess combination of words. The number of combinations of words that are possible is so large, there is not even a word for a number that big. Bitcoin's motto is Vires in Numeris, which is Latin for strength in numbers. To appreciate that strength in numbers, I recommend watching this video. Is it possible to get the same 24 BIP39 seed words? Besides private KEYS very long passwords, there are also public KEYS very long usernames. The combination of a public key plus private key equals control over unspent transaction outputs. In other words, Bitcoin can be unlocked by proving to the Bitcoin network that you have control over these keys. Public keys, aka very long usernames or very long random email addresses, are also called Bitcoin addresses. Public keys Bitcoin addresses are used to receive Bitcoin. Through SHA-256 cryptography, it is impossible to hack a public key and find the corresponding private key. This gives Bitcoin a very special ability. The ability to be completely transparent and still remain extremely secure. To appreciate how secure, I highly recommend watching this video. How secure is 256-bit security? Going back to that transparent vault. The vault is transparent because all the public keys are transparent. Anyone can independently look up any Bitcoin address. Therefore, anyone can verify the total amount of Bitcoin. Anyone can see every single transaction that ever happened, including all the information about when and how much was sent received by what addresses. All transactions that have ever happened and all transactions that will ever happen are recorded forever on the transparent, immutable, and distributed ledger that is Bitcoin. See for yourself on mempool.space. You can go through every single block and see every transaction that ever happened. Check out block 0, the Genesis block. You can also take a look at the Bitcoin rich list. Here you can see a list of the richest addresses. You can copy and paste any of these addresses into mempool.space and see all their transactions just like anyone else can. Bitcoin is secured by cryptography. Thanks to this cryptography, Bitcoin can be transparent while at the same time maintaining extremely secure. Anyone can participate and anyone can verify every transaction that ever happened. When anyone can verify every transaction that has happened in this system, that means nobody needs to trust each other. You can verify that someone did send you Bitcoin. You can look in Bitcoin's entire transaction history that the person who is sending you Bitcoin has received that Bitcoin before they sent it to you. There is no middleman, no third party acting as a central authority to facilitate the transaction. Like the title of the white paper says, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. I will be directing you to another video. The same channel that made the last video you should have watched made the following video. But how does Bitcoin actually work? This video gives you a very solid technical understanding of how Bitcoin actually works. The whole idea behind what I've written and the reason why you are reading this is to understand how Bitcoin works and why it is important. The understanding of how it works is very important. Studying the technical side of Bitcoin is, in my opinion, the best thing to do because it not only will make you realize that Bitcoin is just a new technology made up of code, but it will also make you realize that this new technology is so incredibly well designed. Studying the technical side of Bitcoin will blow your mind at how sophisticated and extremely well thought out the software is. There is no better way to conclude that you should put your entire life savings into Bitcoin than watching a video about proof of work. So here is the thing. My job is to help you understand Bitcoin. My job is to help you make sense of something you probably feel that can improve your life. But the direction of that something is strange, scary, and unsure. Therefore, I feel no need to take you through the entire technical side of Bitcoin. Although I urge you to learn as much as possible about the technical side. You don't need all that information or understand the implications this technology has brought to the world to be able to use Bitcoin. You can use Bitcoin without knowing how Bitcoin works, and you can even use Bitcoin without knowing that you are using Bitcoin. So let's clarify everything so far about Bitcoin so we can work from a foundation of consensus around what Bitcoin is. The Bitcoin network is a network of both nodes and miners. Every single node has a copy of the entire Bitcoin blockchain. A node can be any computer. There are also multiple different variations of how the node software looks, but all nodes have the same purpose. Nodes keep track of who owns what. Nodes keep track of who received what, they can verify who can send what. When I sent Bitcoin to a friend in El Salvador, what is happening is that I show proof that I own a combination of a public and private key that controls X amount. All nodes know that I have received X amount somewhere in the past because all nodes keep copies of the entire Bitcoin transaction history. When I broadcast a transaction to the network, I have proven that it is really me trying to make this transaction. My transaction is validated by all nodes on the network. In other words, all nodes check if you can actually spend the money that you claim you have. Once determined that a transaction is valid, it has to wait in what is called the mempool. The mempool or memory pool is a list of already validated transactions that are waiting to get settled. Valid transactions will stay in the mempool until they are picked up by a miner so that they can be settled forever on the blockchain. When a transaction is inside the mempool, anyone can see that this is a valid transaction that could happen because it follows the Bitcoin rules. There is no certainty that this transaction will happen or has happened because it hasn't been settled yet. The entire transaction history list that every single node in the world has a copy of hasn't been updated yet so that it includes this transaction. Only when the list is updated the transaction actually happened. Since every node keeps a copy of this entire list, you can be certain that a transaction is final, irreversible, and has happened once the list has been updated a couple of times and everyone can verify that it happened. We call these updates confirmations. What is happening with these updates confirmations is that new blocks of transactions keep coming in and keep getting linked together. The reason why you want to wait for a couple of confirmations to happen after your transaction is because only then you can be certain that the transaction is irreversible. Already after an hour's worth of confirmations, it becomes practically impossible for your transaction to fail. This is because it will take a practically impossible amount of work to undo all the transactions that have come after your transaction. That is the idea behind the transparent list that is Bitcoin.